Tippy time my damies, Topcat here and welcome back to the channel. Today we are taking a look at the Gunburn SMG. It burns hot like BD and will only be available to us during Festival of the Lost. I know we're already halfway through the event already and that you've probably already watched a Perk pull vid on day 1 of its release. A vid probably based largely on speculation from LightGG, but the reality is to make up our own minds, we often got to go out there and use the damn thing. The Gunburn has so many awesome perks, it's kind of like a Pokemon. You want to catch all those great combos, but I want to find the one that'll poke and make me moan. In the left hand column we've got Lead from Light, Pugilist, Recycled Energy, Stats for All, Threat Detector, Lone Wolf, and Bewildering Burst. And on the right we've got Binary, Wellspring, One for All, Target Lock, Ancillary Ordnance, Kinetic Tremors, and Attrition Orbs. Now, like any gun, there's a few throwaways here. I'm not going to bother with Recycled Energy, Stats for All on the left, and in the right, I wouldn't touch Binary Orbit with your dick. So of the possible 14 perks here, we've only eliminated 3 of them, making this harder to judge than a Californian beauty contest. Luckily for us, gold rolls are easier to come across than My First Wife, dropping as regularly as I do Deuce at the Altars of Sorrow event. Now I'm a major ability spam whore, so combinations like Pugilist and Wellspring make me spring up. These work a little bit different now with how our ability regen works. For example, Pugilist is meant to give us back 10% melee energy with our SMG when we get a kill, but when I have my melee set at 80, I'm getting back roughly 22% of it. Wellspring works in a similar fashion, returning energy across our non-charged abilities. If it is just our melee missing though, we're getting back about 28%. If we're missing both our melee and our dodge, for example, they're both getting around 22. I particularly like this combo if I'm using something like a prismatic kit, but the reality of this combo is it only really has girth to take on red bars at -30. The second combo I saw and liked was Lead from Light with Attrition Orbs. This is good, particularly if you're using your SMG to do overload stuns. When putting rounds into those faces, it's going to create us orbs of power, whether it's fueling like recuperation or your surge mods, kickstarters, or faceted purpose, giving you like damage bonuses or resist. It's not hard to convince you guys that this perk is something you all want to take to the prom, but it will give you some good twins action when paired with that Lead from Light. We pick up an overpower, then our next kill is going to boost the chance of our special ammo brick generation. This perk stacks to increase. It worked quite well when using like special driven builds like your Ergo Sum, Slayer Fang, a good rocket sidearm kit, things like that. Now I'm a huge fan of that Bewildering Burst. We get a kill, we reload, it's going to give us a 6-second time window to shoot our next enemy. When we do this, it's going to bukkake them in the eye sockets, leaving them vulnerable to attack. This is actually a fairly sizable area of effect of around 15 meters, so if you are an All for One fan, this is actually a really good perk to rock alongside it, as that bukkake blast can hit multiple targets at once, giving us an instant 35% damage bonus for 10 seconds. This was actually my preferred Bewildering combo over and above that of Ancillary Ordnance. Now I am not by any means downplaying Ancillary Ordnance. In fact, it's actually one of my favorite combos on the Force Memorializer Scout Rifle. We get a kill, and I can't explain how, but somehow the monster's soul turns into a kinetic rocket that'll take on the next closest bad dude. Awesome animation, and more fun than a one-legged redhead. That rocket and bukkake combo goes strong. At -30, you don't need to kill every second red bar, and when that rocket hits a shielded foe, it's going to knock off most of their health bar as well, particularly if you're running it with a tech set combo, so you can easily finish off that target to reapply that Bewildering Ancillary combo. The problem I found is though it is an SMG after all, we are up close and personal, and you're kinda leaving the rocket's targeting to the fate of Bungie and its spaghetti code. So if there are any chunkier targets amongst the horde, it can often leave you blindsided. You could be moving on and some big old hive knight's just gonna bonk you across the back of the head and drag you back to his cave. If you do still want to use this combo though, it's going to suit kits that are heavy on debuffs or ability kills. You need these in order to charge those rockets. Kits like our Priz Hunters and our Stasis Warlocks with that turret will shine. Now when it comes to the Crucible, there's only 4 perks here we really need to talk about, that are Threat Detector and Target Lock, and Lone Wolf and Kinetic Tremors. Now Threat Detector is always a tremendous perk here. It works harder than a migrant, and the more you chuck at it, the better it's going to get. With one enemy in close proximity, that's 19 bonus stability, 19 reload, and 28 handling. But if the opposing fire team decides let's go for the G-Bang, it'll boost your stability up to 49, 63 stability, and it tops out our handling at 100. Now you need to ask yourself, what type of player am I? Do your balls hang low? Do they wobble to and fro? Can you tie them in a knot, or can you tie them in a bow? Ideally, you don't want to take on the whole fire team on the regular, so I found more use out of Lone Wolf, as most times when I pull out this little bullet hose, I'm on for that 1v1. Lone Wolf has a passive 6% aim assist bonus, and 11% when we are like dead inside alone. Whilst in the Crucible, you always want to chuck on that search party origin trait. This will turn you into a lone wolf, just beating off in the cave by yourself as those other wolves are on the prowl. But it will significantly boost our aim assist, which frankly I found was needed. Despite having near perfect recoil and decent stats across the board, when this gun sprays, it like sprays. I'll often pull that trigger back and the gun turns into a broken vibrator. If you can hit your crits, there is not much difference in terms of TTK between that of target lock and kinetic tremors, but as guardians move around like they got crabs in their knickers and jellyfish as slippers, I preferred using kinetic tremors. It'll just give you better leeway, particularly when you're coming at them from an angle and you can't hit those yellow numbers. But honestly, any combination of these 4 perks will work inside the Crucible. Now thankfully we don't have to just pick one combo, as we do have 6 traits available to us at tier 5. So on the left I was looking for Pugilist, Lone Wolf and Bewildering Burst, with Wellspring, One for All and Kinetic Tremors in the right. My favourite combo was actually that of Pugilist paired with Kinetic Tremors. SMGs are the type of weapon that you're close enough to give your enemies a reach around, so that melee energy is always helpful. Kinetic Tremors is awesome in the Crucible, but also pretty tasty in PvE. Now one of the best reasons to use an SMG in Ashen Iron is that it is an overload weapon. At base damage though, it took me 6.5 mags here to stun and destroy this overload champion at -30, but we're going to drastically bring this down. First and foremost, we want that Vice Stinger origin trait. This can throw back rounds into our magazine as we're emptying our magazine, meaning less reloads between load blows. I'll suggest throwing a backup mag mod on. My favourite kit to run it on was no doubtably the Peacekeeper's exotic boots on the Titan. I've seen tons of you crown munchers out there this season using these. It is undeniably one of the better exotics to use if Avant-Garde isn't active, as whilst wielding an SMG, we're going to move faster, we gain damage resist against combatants as long as we remain on target, and it'll autoload our SMGs when stowed. But most importantly, when we spray bullets in those face holes, whilst we land bullets, it's going to start stacking up to 20, doubling our SMG damage. I run Fever and Chill to make us radiant when landing crits with solar weapons. Now you might go, kinetic weapon, why would you use that? Obviously you've seen by now that I'm using it in conjunction with my solar Year-Tide SMG. With the Gunburn, if we dump a mag, then go for the reload to dump a second mag, we're going to lose those stacks. So we're going to have to court that damage buff all over again. But if we swap to another SMG, it's still wet and ready to go. So I like starting with that solar Year-Tide. We get those crits to make us radiant. I'm running attrition orbs. It's great as this will give us the best of both worlds, like we're using all 4 of the best perks at once, twinsies, female, male style. I've got an equipped a kinetic search mod. We just need the one of them at -30, and on my Year-Tide I'm running that target lock as I'm primarily focusing on getting those crits in order to proc Fever and Chill Radiant. I run Solitude on our Priz class to give us that severing burst when landing precision hits, and this will work in conjunction with Cauterized Darkness to boost our solar weapon damage to all strand and stasis debuff enemies. We started with that 6.5 mag kill to down an overload champion at -30, and now we can kill them with 1 mag solar, 1 mag kinetic. This is a great cocktail and allows us to play extremely fast as we empty swap, empty swap, empty swap, empty swap. We can just plow hard and your balls will never be empty. I'll have a dim link for this Titan build in the description down below, as it's quite a solid kit, but I do hope that you walk away from this video seeing what this SMG can do across different kits and different playstyles. I would love to know what combos you guys are enjoying the most, as we're all different players with different playstyles and different kits. Make sure to thumb it if you dug it, sub if you're new, and as always, tippy time my damies, what a time.